Alright, I'm back for the final unboxing. This is another auction win, and this book, I have won it for decades. I've come close a couple times. As with some other books, my LCS has had this book in 3 times that I remember. The first 2 times, the grade was low. It was like a 7. And the other one was probably like a 5. The last time he had one was probably about an 8. But I had just bought a bunch of books from that collection, the apartment collection that I spoke of before. The gentleman had stored books in an apartment for I think decades. Apparently went through like the 70s and 80s buying up collections and buying flea markets and stuff like that. Just started storing the books in an empty apartment that he owned. And when he passed, his children found it. Some of the books, unfortunately, most of the books were in near mint condition. But some of the books had water leaked onto them from a busted pipe or something. And there were some really good books that had water damage, unfortunately. But I got a nice chunk of books from that collection. And this was one of them, but at the time I had spent so much money on those other books, I was pretty much tapped out. This book here, it's got a little bit of Marvel chipping on it. But I can live with it. This is Tales of Suspense number 59 from November of 1964. This is a Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers cover. Iron Man and Captain America double feature begins. First solo Captain America story since the 1950s. First appearance of Jarvis. And there's also a Black Knight appearance in this. And of course, classic cover. 8-0. CBCS. I think this might be my second CBCS slab. Pretty much like a CGC. It's kind of thin. But this book, I've won it for. I've been a Cap fan. Cap got me into comics. Spoke before about, I think it was Cap 346, 345, right around there. Right winger, left winger. That was my first comic that I bought, like actual comic that I bought off the rack with a story. I've picked up when I was younger, like the Handbook and the DC Who's Who. I've always liked the characters. So I watched Superpowers, and I had the Secret Wars figures when I was a kid, and the Superpower figures when I was a kid. And it might be where I like Captain America subconsciously from, because I had the Americycle and the Captain America figure. Really liked him. So when I got into comics, this is 1988, went down to the local newsstand and picked up the Captain America issue with a left winger and right winger. And that was the first book that I read monthly. And then I started branching out and getting other books like Avengers and Daredevil and things like that. And then from there, I looked into a collection or two. And I finally discovered a comic book store for the first time, and back issues, and started looking for comic book stores. I found 2 other ones. They were a little bit away from where I live. But I went there, and they had a nice run of Captain America books. From like from like 290 up to the current. So I would go there I try to go there at least every weekend and get one or two books to fill in my back issues, and that's pretty much how I read Captain America. Because when I picked it up, Captain America was John Walker at the time. Steve Rogers was the captain. So then I was able to find older books where Steve Rogers was the Captain America, um, and that is my one of my favorite runs that time period. I really liked when he came back and Diamondback was in the book along with Steve, and I've been a fan ever since. And I've collected him religiously ever since. I have issue 100 to current. I would say 95% of it's near mint. And then I started buying Tales of Suspense. Um, my LCS had issue 58, which has Captain America and Iron Man on the cover fighting. So I consider that like the first part of the Tales of Suspense series, not this book, but that book. But of course, this book is important. This is where the solo stories begin. Um, I'm pretty sure I have 60. And I started buying the Tales of Suspense covers that had Captain America on it. That's how I was kind of starting off, and then I was going to go back and get the ones with Iron Man on the cover, but I wanted to get the ones with Captain America on the cover first, um, which I think I'm only missing like one or two with Cap on the cover, and the majority of the Iron Man ones. I think I have like maybe four with Iron Man on it, because the book would switch every month. They would take the spotlight and take the cover. There'd be two stories in the book, but either Captain America would be on the cover, and then the next month Iron Man would be on the cover. They would switch it off. Um, a lot of Marvel books at this time period did the dual heroes in each book to spotlight a hero, and the reason for that was, um, from what I've read, DC had kind of monopoly on the distribution, um, and they only allowed Marvel to distribute, I think it was 8 titles a month. They also had first dibs on paper quality as well. They got the better paper. Marvel got what was left. That's why Marvel chipping happens. It was cheaper paper. Um, the they stuck to like basically putting two heroes into a book, so they would have 16 heroes they could showcase. Um, and eventually they were firing all cylinders. They made enough, and they were doing well enough that they were able to finally break away from that DC monopoly kind of, and started publishing books. And that's when you get like Captain America 100 and Iron Man 1, and all the books kind of branched off into their own solo series. Um, but this book here, I remember seeing this in like Comic Buyer's Guide and Wizard, and the various publications of the time and advertisements, and I always wanted this book. This at the time, I would say maybe 2 years in to collecting, it was this book and the Justice League book. I think it's 28, where it's the space background, and some of the Justice League members are in cages, and other Justice League members are like next to the cages. I don't know what it was about that book, but that book and this book, I guess because I kept seeing them, I wanted them so bad. Um, but never saw them in any LCSs, which it was funny because I would see like Spider-Man #1 and Amazing Fantasy 15s, X-Men 1, um, all the time. Avengers 4, I saw in one comic book shop, and it was beat. I mean, beat. And the guy wanted like $2,000 for it. Um, it's probably like a 2 or 3-0. I finally got an Avengers 4 in a very fine near mint, for the same price, like around $2,000. Um, so that's my like end cap. There is the Avengers 4, first Silver Age appearance of Captain America, and then 59, and then or 50. I'm sorry, 58, and then this one 59 here. Um, there's like one Tales of Suspense or Strange Tales appearance of Captain America fighting Human Torch I still have to get, and there's also that Sergeant Fury and Helen Commandos cover I still need. Um, so those will be I'll be getting those next. But yeah, this series is I don't know, it's just such a great Kirby piece. Two of them together there. Um, and still got to fill in some more Tales of Suspense, going for all at least like 8.0 and higher, um, to finish out that run, so I can have from Avengers 4 to current, um, with Cap. And I said my favorite Marvel hero. I like a lot of other Marvel heroes, but Captain America's my favorite Marvel hero. DC's a little different. DC, there's so many great characters that stand on their own. I would say probably Kingdom Come Superman's my favorite costume. It's the one that resonates with me the most, but there's so many great characters in DC. But for Marvel, it's definitely Cap. Um, but excited to finally add this to my collection after wanting it for 30 years or more. Yeah, I almost bought one at Comic Con. I almost caved and got they had a 6.0, and I almost caved and got it. And I'm glad I did not. So it's been my lesson this year. I've noticed I've got a couple books this year that I've almost taken lesser grades because I've wanted the book so bad, and I've held out and held out and held out, and I got the book in a higher grade for a lot of times less money than what it would have been in the lower grades. Because I believe what I paid for this, in the 8.0 is about $25 more than what that 6.0 was at Baltimore Comic Con last year. So don't always just grab it when you see it. Sometimes patience pays off. And that's been a couple books this year that I've picked up. I had my eye on, and they got a little expensive, and hype wore down, and book came down in price back to where it should be. This book has been probably criminally underrated for a long time, because I remember when LCS had his copies, they were around the same price. They were between like 2 to 300 range. This I paid around 350 for, and his weren't as good as this, and they were graded. So this is graded, So kind of glad I did not cave and get them other ones. The last one he had, even though it was probably an 8.0 itself, I do remember looking at it, and it seemed like the spine was very like sharp, like brittle. Like sometimes you can tell looking at the spine, it doesn't have like that roundness, has like a flatness to it, very sharp. And that concerned me. But by the time I got there the second time, and I was like really thinking about buying it, somebody had already snatched it up. So it didn't matter at that point. I missed out on it, but I'm kind of glad I did, because this is definitely a better copy. Even with the chipping on top, because I think his had chipping as well. It's not horrible, the chipping. So, but yeah, this is gonna be in the collection now, and I'm gonna start working on the rest of these Tales of Suspense issues, so I can kind of close that chapter. And focus on some other books that I want. But yeah, I think everything's kind of coming back to pre-COVID. I mean, some books are crazy, but I think for the most part, a lot of books like this are coming back to like what they were pre-COVID, kind of evening itself back out again. But even though I think this book still, like I said, is for what this uh, is actually undervalued right now. Still, you got both solos of Captain America and Iron Man together in a book, and still a little cheap. But I'm glad it was because I was able to get it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I got new comic books coming in this week. Hopefully they're not damaged. And I have to make an LCS run and get some books that are in my box. So those videos will be coming up as well. And then always still unfortunately trying to get some time together to get more of these Baltimore Comic Con panels posted up. Kind of been busy at work, so I haven't really been able to put much time into it, but I'm going to try to start dropping at least one a week, so they're all out there. But they're coming up. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.